The primary law for governing compensation benefits, as you may already know by now, is the Federal Fair Labor Standards Act. And in sum, the law protects employees against abuse and helps keep employers out of trouble. The law establishes a federal minimum wage, but individual states may raise it to account for the relative cost of living, and many do. Some of you may be following this, but President Biden is actually proposing to double the federal minimum wage to $15 an hour. Now, that's not as controversial in Oregon because we're already scheduled to hit 15 or near 15 in a few years anyway, and Bend is actually already at 12. But let's say you're a business in Arkansas or Louisiana. For them, this is a much bigger deal. The law also establishes overtime pay, or 1.5 times your wage for any hours over 40, and most of you are probably familiar with that. However, there are exceptions to the minimum wage and overtime requirements. These include salary-based or commission-based employment, but the law essentially ensures that regardless, and in all cases, everyone is entitled to at least a minimum standard of living, and that's the goal of what it's trying to achieve. So at Bunkin Brew, we implement a more traditional or more international labor model that we call work trade or work exchange. All labor laws still apply, but the requirements can be offset by something called in-kind benefits. And that is, in exchange for about 20 hours of work per week, our employees receive on-site lodging and parking, plus all utilities at our historic downtown location, free breakfast, discounts at our food carts, and other benefits, including free travel, actually, and lodging at our partner locations up and down the West Coast. And of course, free beer. And these benefits only need to exceed the equivalent market value of minimum wage. Plus, this exchange is all tax-free if you meet 3 conditions. Lodging must be on site. Lodging is provided for the convenience of the employer, and lodging is a condition of employment. However, we are still required to provide workers' compensation insurance in case of work injuries, and once we reach 50 employees, we'll be required to provide health insurance as well. So our employees generally fall into 2 categories: seniors and juniors. Seniors are trained in property management and guest services. Because they stick around a little longer, they may need a little extra spending money. But at only 20 hours per week, they still have time to find other part-time work in the community. Juniors, however, may only stay with us 2 to 3 months at a time, and so their duties tend to require less training. This is more like an extended travel experience for them. So they may already have a little savings or don't plan on finding additional work. Or they work at Mount Bachelor and do, like many of you, whatever the minimum is to get that free pass. So aside from our work exchange program, we also have fully paid positions, and we reserve those for management. Right now, we have 1 location, and here in Bend. And there we have 1 general manager, 1 assistant manager, and 1 bar and events manager. And so because we pay all of them in actual wages, both parties are required to pay their share of applicable federal and state taxes, including primarily unemployment, Social Security, and Medicare. So with COVID, the unemployment situation has led to a lot of new changes for the small business owner. Traditionally, the self-employed or a small business owner was not eligible, and employees were not eligible unless their employment was actually terminated. However, now, due to COVID regulation, a small business owner can also make a claim on behalf of themselves for unemployment, as well as employees can make claims even if they haven't been terminated simply because their hours were reduced. And so this, of course, has led to a massive increase in the claims by both employers and employees, and that's all in addition to those who actually did lose their jobs. So I'm learning about all this in real time, actually, in the last, 1 year. But the state maintains an unemployment fund that all employers pay into it. Employees do not. And the more claims your employees make, the higher the percentage you pay. Plus, as happened to us for several of our employees, you will be asked to contribute an additional percentage of the claims your employees file. And so this is just a reminder back to previous videos that we've done about one more reason how important it is to be careful about how you hire and fire. Unlike unemployment tax, you and employees actually split the costs of Social Security and Medicare taxes. But this whole package is essentially what we call your payroll taxes. So the other thing and the last thing that we do at Bunk and Brew, and we only do it for our general manager, is that we offer something called a profit share. And that is that we incentivize our general manager with an additional percentage-based quarterly paid bonus based on the performance of the business. And this idea is to compensate less for their time and more for their performance. And so the percentage will increase with the growth of the business and the associated increase in independence and responsibilities. And right now, as I said, we have one location, but as we expand to others, or we have a general manager that oversees multiple locations, that will change as well.